families. And in this show, we focus on 6 areas of health for families: emotional, financial, mental, physical, social, and spiritual. And this month, we have been focusing on spiritual health and well-being. And I have a special guest. I invited Delinda purposely because I know her background. I've known her for several years. We connected through networking. I've joined her Facebook group. She has such a spirit of enthusiasm and love and faith and courage. So I want to introduce Delinda Layne.
Woo! Hello.
And thank you so much for joining us, Delinda. And I even forgot to mention that among you are a speaker, an empower mentor, and a connector of women. So let's talk a little bit, because I believe that, anytime you want to strengthen the family, we need to start with the parents. Tell us a little bit about how you empower women.
Well, thank you. And thank you, Emily, for having me on. I love having conversations with you. And it is an honor to be on your show. So thank you very much. Emily, yes, I think the parents do. And since we're women, we'll just say, as women, we have a major, major role in the lives of our families and all the people that are around us. I love that. I am a connector of women. I'm not sure that's just a gift God gave me. So I bring people together, and my whole mission in life is to encourage women in particular to be all that God created them to be. And that's where the Empower Mentor comes in. Basically, I mentor women to empower themselves, because the truth is I can't empower anybody, but I can set the stage. I can create the environment, which is exactly what we're doing in our homes. We can create the environment of love and nurturing and encouragement and optimism. All of those things is what we as moms do in our home. And our faith shines through everything we do. So if you are a woman of faith, if you're a Christian, that shines in your home, and that's where your kids learn it. You can talk all day, but if you're not living it and showing it and letting that be the stage, so to speak, your home be the stage for that, it's the learning by watching you do it. And that's the biggest effect we can have, I guess.
And it's such a beautiful reminder. I remember as a young mother, sometimes I would find myself focusing on how can I control my children? And you can't control another human being, but you can control the environment.
Yes.
You can control the setting. And that's huge.
Yeah, it really is. From the point of so many times, I think, Emily, it is the little things. For instance, one of the things I would just, in our household, I don't lie. I never lie. I tried to teach my children not to lie, to be truthful in all things, from the standpoint of even when their friends would call and they didn't want to answer the phone and they'd say, tell them I'm not home. I'd say, no, that's a lie. You're standing right here. You either take the phone, or I'll say that you don't want to answer the phone right now and you'll call them back, but I'm not going to lie. So my kids knew early on that, we weren't going to do that. So, you'd think, well, what a big deal is that? But we're setting the stage. We are showing them, we're living out what we're talking about. And that's what they remember. Even when they would make the worst decision, okay, whatever it is in their life, whatever decision, showing them the love, even though we don't approve or like, maybe even we hate the behavior. I mean, there are behaviors that just, we just don't want our kids to make those kind of choices, but sometimes they do. But how do we actually show the love, that love we have for them, that love in our home? How do we keep showing the love no matter what the behavior is? That's, for me, I mean, that's a hard one, because they're just sometimes it's hard to do.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And it's not helpful to beat yourself up later. Just, I know I would just make the resolve, I'll do better tomorrow. I know what to watch out for.
Yeah, and we kind of know what the trigger. The thing is, our kids, our family knows those triggers too, and sometimes they push those buttons on purpose, But that's part of life, right? You deal
It
with it every
is.
day in
It
your
is. And
family.
it gives us the opportunity to be that example
Yeah,
of Christ-like love, of loving them no matter what they do. And I
right.
love the point you made that just by being, we have that influence on them. We don't
Mhm.
have to, force them to go to church or anything like that. We're just genuinely, sincerely being ourselves. And that brings that spirit into the home. Have you
Yeah.
noticed that you can walk into a home and you can feel the spirit that's there?
Yes, yes. For years I was a Mary Kay director, and the big thing, I don't even know how they're doing it now, but at the time, pre-pandemic and all of that, we would go into someone's home, and sit at the kitchen table and set the mirrors up, and the ladies would do, and it was really a wonderful time because, again, I'm an encourager, and so anytime I can help a woman feel better about herself, and I think that's when I really realized what a difference that makes. So if you make a woman feel better on the outside, it makes a difference on the inside. Well, there was one time in particular, speaking to that you can feel it in the home, and went into this lady's house, and we were at her kitchen table, and I mean, Emmylou, I knew there was an oppressive spirit in there. I mean, that was not a house where love was the key. And I really was concerned about her. You could feel it. I mean, you could feel that, not just the lack of love, but it was oppressive. I firmly believe that she was in, and actually even later when her husband walked through the room, her demeanor totally changed. So it was, there was abuse going in that house. Of course, I prayed for her, because there really wasn't much else that I could do. But whatever that tone is that we're setting in our home makes a difference. Are we accepting of our children for who they are? Are we showing love? Are we showing love to our neighbors? And, somebody, when we just, like you said, when we're just living out our life, the spirit of who we are, and as Christians, the spirit of Christ is what shines through in a home, if that's the case.
Yes. And if you think about it, you mentioned loving our children, even if they make choices we don't agree with. But, you know, just consider if your child made a mistake, did something, would you want them to feel, I can't let mom know, should be so upset? Or would you want them to have the relationship with you of, I need to go to mom, mom will
Mhm.
help me?
Right. And isn't that what we really all want to do? In scripture, and I did not look up this particular verse, but it talks about how Jesus wants to gather his people like a hen gathers her chicks.
Yes.
And that's a very feminine picture, but our God is all things. I mean, he's the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, but he's also got all the love and the nurturing that a mother has for her children, and a hen has for her little baby chicks, that where you just want to gather them in and protect them and be that safe place. We really want the home to be the safe place that they know that no matter what, they can go home and they're not going to be kicked out. They're not going to be harmed. That's their safe place.
They'll be accepted and loved,
Yes. Yeah.
even when they mess up.
When they mess up, because hey, let's face it, we all mess up, right? I'd like to think I don't, but I do all the time. None of us is perfect.
I remember a time my mother-in-law taught me a very valuable lesson. I was on a phone call with her and I was complaining about the things my children had done. I had told them not to do it and they still did it. And she said, you expect them to do everything you ask? And I said, yes. And she said, do you do everything God asks of you?
Ooh.
And I thought, oh. And then she just kind of, I don't know how you can smell over the phone, but I could tell it was a gentle, sometimes, we're not perfect either.
Right,
it
right.
really, it just, I thought, wow, message received.
Message received, yeah. And that wisdom. And I think that's another thing that how important it is for us as moms. It's also continuing that legacy on as, for us as grandmothers. You know,
Yeah,
we want to be the place where the grandkids want to come and they want the hugs and we want them to know that we're also the safe place for them. You know, whatever's going on. Because I know there's things that my kids have shared with my mother that I still don't know about. And it's okay because she loves me and she would never do anything, um, you know, even with the grandkids, if it was harmful. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah.
She
You
can
trust her, you
listen.
have that trust, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what we want to be, that spirituality that's in the home that we're building a legacy right now. You know, so my two kids and their grandkids, I want to be that. Now I'm really blessed that they're young. So I have three teenage granddaughters that by marriage, and then I have these three little ones that are 5, 4, and 3. You know, so we're just starting this journey. You know, so because I want them that as they get to be teenagers, that they want to come over and say, "Hey, Mimi, did you know this or did you know that?" Or Mimi, I don't know what to do here. What should I do? I want to be that person.
Oh, if ever there's a time in a child's life when they need a trusted mentor who has their best interest at heart, you know, their peers could mislead them.
Yeah.
But if they have that trusted mentor with the maturity to see the big picture and that spiritual background of wanting what's what's best,
Mhm.
you know, someone to go to when they have all those decisions,
Yeah.
and they're making decisions that will impact the rest of their life. It isn't just like, what do I want to eat for lunch?
True, true. And had we all realized how much those decisions that we made in those times did affect the rest of our lives, you know, we would have been nice if we could have been a little wiser during that time, right? But that's where we, you know, when you have your uh, parents, your mom to go to. I mean, and obviously not to exclude the dads. The dads are so important in the household, of course.
Well, yeah.
And when the couple can be a spiritually connected, um, you know, then that's just extra bonus. And I would imagine, because I know you have a great relationship with your husband, that based on what your mother-in-law, right? Didn't you say that's who that was that gave you
Yes,
that little
yes,
bit?
but I learned about marriage by watching my parents. And
Ah,
my parents had a fantastic relationship. And I saw them pray together as a couple. They would have us all pray. You know, we had family prayers, and they taught each child how to pray. But I also saw that they prayed together as a couple and they treated each other with respect. And God was part of their marriage. They both were committed to serving him. It had a profound influence on me.
oh, absolutely. And for that might be listening and they say, well, I didn't have that. I don't even know what that looks like. The thing is, that's okay. You can begin to make the change. You know, there are, what do they call that, Emily, where generational things that happen in families, you know, that just come
Those,
down through.
yeah, those traditions, they can
Yeah.
break that generational cycle.
Yes, yes, that's what I was trying to think because there are many families who have negative generational cycles, alcoholism being one, whatever that is. But we, you know, every woman listening or any person listening, you can break that right now, this minute, by making a decision that you are not going to be that person. You know, if you decide that you want a different picture in your home, maybe you didn't do all the, you know, none of us do all the right things, but maybe you're even your home and you're older now as a grandmother. As a grandmother, you can be to those grandkids, you know, that influence that maybe you don't feel you were. Maybe, you know, none of us can judge somebody else's life. But you know, if you want to be that person, you can just decide today that's who you're going to be. I mean, it really is, it's not always easy, but it is as simple as making a decision. I'll never forget. I when I was in college, I was a cheerleader. I know that's a big surprise. But it was a
No,
little, no, I know. There was a little small Baptist college. I mean, I think there were 1,000 in the whole school. That's how small this was. But I was a cheerleader, and it was after a cheerleading practice, and we had guy and girl cheerleaders, and one of the guys, I think it was Charlie, we were standing there talking, and he looked across to the other side of the gym where the other half of the cheerleaders were, and he said, "You see Jackie over there?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "You know, I have never heard her say a negative thing about anybody." It's like, whoa. The fact that he would notice that and then even mention it to somebody. And do you know, I decided right there at that moment, that's what I wanted somebody to say about me. Just that I was, as far as I, you know, that became so important that it was a major thing in my life to decide I don't want to be that person that talks badly about other people. You know, I'm going to only say good things. Now, was I always perfect? Have I ever talked about somebody? Probably so, but it is my intention, is something I focus on, to not be that, you know, bad talking person.
and when it's your intention, it's a reminder. You might find yourself starting to and think, nope, nope, I don't want to do that.
Right, right. Because we all get in those situations. You know, oftentimes it's many people, because I've heard women talk about, you know, at work, the whoever's, the secretaries or the women, you know, they talk about the whole water fountain thing. I don't even know if there are water fountains anymore, but you know, they get in the little coffee clutch things, and that's where sometimes that starts. But if it's your intention to not be that person, then you just excuse yourself, or you just don't get drawn into it, because I mean, that's why the Bible talks a lot about controlling our tongue, right? So it makes a
Yes.
difference.
And going back to what you were saying is, as you become a grandparent, you know, I I regret that I wasn't more patient with my children, but I decided, well, I can be more patient with my grandchildren. And there's every day is a new day and an opportunity to do better than you did before.
It is, it is. And since we as women tend to live in we tend to go into that guilt cycle a lot, we need to stop ourselves and don't feel guilty. Just make the changes you want to change, right? Because it makes a difference. One of the other, I was going to share this scripture with you, Emily, because actually our pastor at church did it on Sunday, and I thought, oh, that's just such an interesting thing. It goes back to the whole um, how we nurture and how we feel as mothers. And it's actually Isaiah 49:15 and 16. And it says, "Can a mother forget the baby at her breast and have no compassion for the child she has born?" Then it says, "Though she may forget, I," in parentheses would be the Lord, "will not forget you. See, I have engraved you on the palms of my hands. Your walls are ever before me." I just love that. I just, even if, so I would say you could even take it to the point of, even when you feel like you failed, Jesus' love is still there. The love of the Lord, perfect love casts out fear. I mean, it's just the love of Christ. And that's who we represent in our homes. That spiritual piece is that we are representing Christ. We're representing his love in our home to the best of our abilities. And we're not perfect, but I think they know. I mean, it permeates, and they know that it is.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that, Delinda. I think the most important thing you can teach your children is that they're loved, and to help them feel God's love for them. As you said, we're imperfect. We love as best we can, but to help them start to develop that relationship with God and to feel that love. To me, I can't think of any greater confidence builder or way to peace.
Right, right. I think so too. And you hope as their friends come over that the other people that we have influence, with their friends and our neighbors and things, that that we are living that people notice. And I'm sure, like that I've had people through the years, like, how did you go through that trial time, or how did you handle that? And it always goes back to our faith. You know, the faith that we have is how we go through, you know, when someone passes away, when my dad passed away, and, you know, I just had a close, one of my aunts pass away this last year. It's your faith that builds you up, that gives you that strength to go through the hard times, you know. And when we watch our children, the truth is it hurts us as much, it hurts us as
Yes,
much to
yes, it
watch our
does.
kids to go through it, right?
We so desperately want to rush in and protect them and rescue them, but we can't.
We can't, you know.
We need to allow them to grow. But if we're teaching them, if they know they can pray, they can ask for help, then and there, I don't know of a single family who hasn't gone through, uh, you know, an unexpected move, an employment, illness. You know, life happens.
Life happens, and that is just part of it. It really is. And so that faith, and I think that they see that when we are praying for those things, when we are praying for them, they know that. And, you know,
I remember, as you know, when we would have our family prayer and our parents would mention us by name. And I remember just how that made me feel. Like I had a test that day or something, and they were praying that I would be able to do well, or would be able to remember everything I had learned, or, you know, that just, I remember that deep sense of love I felt when they did that.
I had a friend of mine, just a wonderful Christian woman. Her name is Barb. I'm just gonna, if she listens to this in some way, she'll know that I'm talking about her, in a very positive way, because she's like one of my spiritual sisters. I love her dearly. And she said that somewhere along the line, she found that every so often she would go up to her child and she said, you know, we always have so much going on around us that sometimes we don't focus, you know, I mean, like just individually focus. Like you were saying, them mentioning your name is so important. And she said she would go up to her son in particular, and just put her hands on him, like touching his shoulders, and look directly in his eyes, which makes people feel very uncomfortable. I mean, when you think that is close, right? And she would just say something to the fact of, I just want you to know how much I love you. I will always love you, and nothing will ever change that. It's like,
And in, oh, that is huge.
yeah.
And in family life, we need that. We need to get up close and personal. This is a commitment.
It is, yes, absolutely.
A sacred responsibility.
For sure, for sure. And that just takes it, and I think, you know, particularly maybe when they're going through a hard time, or, you know, maybe they just feel disconnected, because I think there's times that we all do. We don't feel as connected as we'd like to be, or, you know, you feel like you're kind of out there by yourself, to just know that you're not, you know, you're not by yourself, you know, we've got your back.
And as you mentioned, even if every person in their life isn't there for them right then, if they know that God is.
Yes, absolutely.
They know. And, you know, as a retired high school teacher, watching the trends in the last few years, mental health issues, depression, anxiety, feelings of isolation are spiking in our young people. They're really struggling right now, and they need some grounding, some love. So whether it's parents, grandparents, neighbors, we can all reach out to them with love and compassion.
Yeah. Be that spiritual mentor, that spiritual mom, so to speak. You know, even if they're not your physical children, there is a lot. And of course we know that, especially since the pandemic, it has gotten worse. People are spending so much more time in the virtual field, which, hey, is a blessing, because we couldn't be here doing this if it wasn't for that. So it is a blessing to have that, but there is still that powerful connection of when we're together. I mean, like,
Yes.
actually give you a hug, you know, that's so powerful. And when we have the chance to do that, to really try to be that person that gives the hug, or even just that little pat on the back, like, oh, you did such a great job. Whatever it might look like can mean so much.
And I firmly believe that it isn't possible for a child to have too many caring adults in their life.
No.
Anytime you have the opportunity to interact, well, with anyone, really, right, Delinda?
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Leave them better than you found them. Just
Mhm.
impart that love, that care, that compassion. Represent God's love. I like the way you put that.
That because I think that really and that's just the Lord speaking. That's what came out in the show today, that as mothers, we're a reflection of Christ's love in our home and everywhere we are, whatever our sphere of influence is, whether it's, so I have one of our Fun Fearless lunches tomorrow, here in the Kansas City area, and looking forward to that. I mean, I want them to know when they walk in that room that I am so happy to see them, and I want to share really share the love of Christ, just share that whole positive energy um, of what Christ does for me. And I don't have to say that. I don't have to say it, but they will feel it.
Yes,
They just do. So
they will. They will. All right. Now you brought it up. Talk about Fun Fearless Female. That's how your group. I love your group. It's so positive. It's so uplifting.
well, thank you. That's a God thing too. It's everything is, right. So back, and I don't know, Emily, I have to kind of think. I think it might be about 12 years now, could be a little bit more. I was transitioning from being mainly a singer. And I don't know if I've shared this on your show before, but I had always had my music on the back burner. So I was doing my normal life and raising kids, and I sang in church, that kind of thing. But my music was always kind of on the back burner. Well, I decided about 2010, 11, something like that. So I cut a new CD, had a wonderful time doing that. Hired out somebody to build a website, which was so beautiful, except I couldn't tweak it myself. So I had to give that up because I always want to make changes. And so I do a website that I can make my own changes. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
I don't want to have to wait 2 weeks for somebody to make my own. So anyway, so I hired a music artist coach, because I put my music out there. And at that point, I hate to even say, if you remember MySpace, okay, MySpace was precursor to all these other things. So I had my music out there at all social medias that I knew what to do, and it was going nowhere. It was like I was so frustrated, hitting my head against a wall kind of thing. And so I reached out to this artist coach, and she went and she looked at all my stuff, and I was doing voiceovers. Everything I do had to do with my voice. That's just one of my gifts. So she said, so our very first appointment, she had asked me, why did I hire? And I said, well, because all those things that I just told you. And she says, well, Delinda, I know I found I know what your problem is. And I said, wait a minute, we haven't even had a discussion yet. We haven't even had our coaching session yet. How do you know my problem? And she said, well, at your age, and in that point, I was probably in my 50s, thinking I was going to be out on stage like whoever. And she said, the truth is, Delinda, at your age, you're not going to be the main liner. They're not going to hire you, even in churches, to come in and be the main liner. She said, but your friends love you and they're going to always buy your CDs. And I'm thinking, you're killing me here, woman. That's the reason I hired you. And she said, but your age and what you have to say, you are a speaker. And I said, no, I'm not. She said, what do you think you've been doing for the last 20 years? Which was Mary Kay. And I was leading women and I was speaking and all that stuff. So anyway, so once I accepted what she said, it took me a couple of weeks to say, oh, I guess I am a speaker. So an assignment. So I'm getting to the point here. So I apologize. I'm taking so long. She said, I want you to watch commercials on TV And I'm thinking, this woman is out of her mind. I want you to go buy magazines. I wasn't a big, buy all these women's magazines. I Cosmo and all. I just never did that much. She said, but I want you to this time. I want you to go through and just highlight 10 things that just jump out at you that you really like, that you think you could speak about, that resonate with you. It was a great exercise. I mean, it really, really was. So if y'all are ever looking for an idea, just go do that. And the phrase that jumped out of the magazines was fun, fearless female. That was where I got it from, going through these women's magazines. And truthfully, I think even Cosmo was one of the ones that said, be fun and fearless, or something like that. And I thought, I can talk about that. Fun, fearless female. So my first official, okay, I've been speaking for years, but my first official speaking gig was at my church for a women's luncheon. It was called Being a Fun, Fearless Female. So that's where that started. So it went from a speech to then on to a number of speeches, and to a one-day seminar, and then to a 2-day event. And that's what was the beginning of all the WOW events. So the Fun, Fearless Female. And then I did meetups, and I started here in Kansas City. I think it was my first one, Fun, Fearless Female, Christian Women of Kansas City. And then we had Christian Women of Las Vegas. And then it became national. And now we're global community of Christian women, because we have ladies in England, and a couple in Australia, and a couple in Africa, and several in Canada. So now we are global, so just wanting to touch women's lives in a positive way, where they are encouraging and uplifting each other. That was a very long answer to your simple question.
I love it. I love it. So, and you can search for that on, we'll add the link to that. So definitely I would recommend check out Delinda's Fun Fearless Female Facebook group. Now tell them about your QR code.
Okay, so the QR code, y'all, this is the coolest thing. So this is what they call a talking card. Okay, so when you go on there, it'll open up to basically a visual business card. So it'll pull up my music and my YouTube videos, and how to contact me, my Facebook connection, my LinkedIn. It'll really show you every way you can get a hold of me. So that one little code makes it pretty easy.
And I need to mention, I saw your video clip. I think it was on YouTube. You were singing in the Grand Canyon. Now, and I want to say you were singing Amazing Grace. Did I get that right?
It is How Great Thou Art.
How Great Thou Art. Yes.
Right.
Beautiful. It was powerful.
Thank you.
Really
one of the most anointed things I've ever done. I mean, God was there. I mean, it was like singing in God's cathedral, just open air of the Grand Canyon. It was one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had. So it was really
They should definitely listen to that on YouTube, right?
Yes. And I think that if you do my QR code, I think it might pull up right to that, that video maybe. So
powerful. Oh, Delinda, thank you so much. I just love your spirit. I love your energy.
Thank you.
I love what you're doing.
Well, and I just so appreciate the friendships. And that's where I think when we connect with each other, when we're doing networking like we've done, I mean, you've been such a blessing to me, and how we come together. And that's because, we kind of get out of ourselves a little bit, and we meet other people, and you never know who that next best friend is going to be. Who is God going to bring into your life that's going to enrich your life, as well as you make a difference to their life. So I appreciate this opportunity very much.
All right. Well, thank you, Linda. And to my audience, thank you for joining us. Join it again next week at the same time. Until then, love yourself, love your family. Let's make the world a better place by strengthening families. This is Emmylou Penrod with HealingYourFamilies.com.